Yellowstone National Park, a place as diverse as hardly any other region in North America. A remote stretch of the Rocky Mountains, it is situated in between Grand Teton National Park and a large number of protected wilderness areas, as well as national forests that separate it from the rural regions of central Wyoming, northern Idaho, and southern Montana. An isolated world, separated from the vast plains to its north and east, as well as the mountains to its west and south. This national park protects one of the most diverse landscapes within the Rocky Mountains. It is hard to nail down what it is exactly that makes Yellowstone National Park so special. There is no one particular attraction. It is rather the combination of them all that makes this place so uniquely and stunningly beautiful. However, one attribute does stand out more than any other, and that is the park's impressive size. The south entrance is roughly 100 miles or 160 kilometers from the north entrance. This also means that there are quite some distances in between all of the park's main attractions. In addition to that, there are countless stops and scenic views, as well as those famous wild residents that'll make you stop and pause over and over again. So, it is safe to say that it's well worth it to plan ahead in order to make the most out of this unforgettable journey that you are about to embark on. This park has a lot to offer, an El Dorado for outdoor enthusiasts, be it wildlife viewing, hiking, camping, or fishing. Here you will find it all. In the following sections, I will take you on a tour along the Grand Loop Road, which starts and ends in the Tower Junction area in Yellowstone's northeastern corner. As we drive along, I will draw from the experiences made on my multiple visits of the area and highlight the best sites, hikes, and lodging opportunities, as well as the best times and areas to spot the park's wildlife. Ever since I first visited Yellowstone National Park in the fall of 2022, I returned several times in the spring of 2023, during the winter of 2024, and again in the summer of 2024, to experience that dramatic mix of the park's beautiful wildlife, colorful volcanic features, and stunning alpine landscapes. Most of my previous visits were parts of extensive road trips through the mountain states of the US, coming from either the south or east. Driving here means mostly long drives through incredibly scenic alpine landscapes. Another way to get there is by flying to Bozeman, the nearest international airport northwest of Yellowstone National Park, and taking a rental car from there. The best way to reach and enter the park usually depends on the time of the year, as well as the planned travel route. Flying into Bozeman brought me closest to the north and west park entrances, which also offered convenient ways to stock up or stay overnight in the nearby towns of Gardner and West Yellowstone, respectively. I myself experienced West Yellowstone as more of a busy town compared to Gardner. However, both towns are conveniently located close to many of Yellowstone's highlights, most of which are concentrated in the park's northern and western sections. I also use these towns as starting points to continue some of my road trips and to drive further up north. The south entrance was my point of entry on one of my road trips that took me from Denver to Grand Teton National Park, and from there, further up north to Yellowstone. This scenic route led me through the endless forests and numerous viewpoints of the remote northern stretch of Grand Teton National Park before I reached the south entrance. There are services available at nearby Headwaters Lodge and cabins just outside the park, including a gas station and a small convenience store. Both the east entrance near Cody as well as the northeast entrance near Cook City were those entrance points that meant the longest drives for me to reach the park. Cody was part of a road trip coming from eastern Wyoming and the Dakotas, and Cook City was my base camp during a visit in the winter. Cook City and Cody both offer great outdoor recreation and lodging opportunities, as well as some of the most spectacular scenic drives into Yellowstone National Park, with picturesque mountain passes and colorful tough canyons. There are basic services available in Cook City, near the northeast entrance. The region between the northeast entrance and the north entrance is an area that is most renowned for its abundant wildlife spotting opportunities. It also is the only section of Yellowstone National Park that is open to private vehicles year-round. Lamar Valley and the surrounding areas are particular hotspots for the park's most famous residents. In my own experience, I found the area around Slough Creek Campground and Tower Junction to be incredibly exciting wildlife viewing spots. Here I had a couple of close encounters with black bears and got to hear and see the park's beautiful grey wolf. Besides that, I also spotted some of the park's largest bison herds, coyotes, and even moose. This area also offers great hiking trails, with Slough Creek Trail being one of the most popular and, in my opinion, also one of the most scenic hikes of the park, leading through open plains, alpine meadows, and dense forests. When I hiked this trail in the early June of 2023, I found many opportunities to pause and take in the surrounding alpine landscape all by myself, with only a few other hikers going all the way to the Slough Creek backcountry campsites. Once I returned to the trailhead, I was greeted by a group of people who asked me if I saw the two bears walking alongside the trail. Apparently, I hadn't noticed that I had company on my way back. And soon enough, just minutes after I arrived at the trailhead, two black bears appeared near the tree line next to the trail. Another great hike that can easily be done in one afternoon is Garnet Hill Loop Trail, leading through open prairie-like plains, dense woods, and rolling hills. And this is where I encountered a lone wolf right on the trail when I was hiking here in the late January of 2024. I was all alone hiking along the trail, and there was some talk about a group of wolves roaming the area amongst the wildlife viewers that day. After a while, I came across the first set of fresh wolf tracks in the snow. Still eager to continue my day hike, I suddenly heard wolves howling in the distance. It was a beautiful moment, but that was when I considered turning around. That's when I saw him sitting there watching me. I just froze, and we both stared at each other seemingly forever. Hypnotized by the yellow eyes of this beautiful creature, some 200 meters ahead, I was just stunned. After a couple of minutes, the wolf got up and disappeared into the woods. A true once-in-a-lifetime experience. When it comes to lodging, Slough Creek Campground and Roosevelt Lodge cabins each offer beautiful but also extremely popular options for an overnight stay in this area. While Slough Creek is a simple campground that only offers basic facilities such as vault toilets and trash collection, it is at the same time the ideal spot to experience the pristine Yellowstone wilderness without actually requiring a backcountry permit. The 5-minute drive over a 2-mile dirt road from the park's major traffic arteries made me feel like I was off the grid and in the middle of nowhere. Roosevelt Lodge Cabins resembles more of a tiny village with all the amenities of civilization, including a store, restaurant, bathrooms and showers with hot water, power for your electronics, and a gas station. However, this location is unlike any other, offering little cozy cabins that come with a wood stove and complimentary firewood. All in all, I have stayed twice in this section of the park. Once in late spring, when I set up camp at Slough Creek Campground and the Roosevelt Lodge, and once in the middle of the winter, where I stayed just outside the northeast entrance in Cook City, both incredibly rewarding experiences. The area in between Gardiner and West Yellowstone contains Mammoth Hot Springs, the Norris Geyser Basin, and parts of the wild and rugged Gallatin Mountain Range, which is another great and promising wildlife hotspot. I myself have seen numerous bears in this densely forested area. I also got to see the occasional bison and small herds of them crossing the road. The area in and around Mammoth Hot Springs is by far the best spot to experience countless elk up close. Here, I also passed by the terraces of Mammoth Hot Springs, a surreal landscape of bright and colorful limestone formations formed by the countless steaming hot and mineral springs in the area. I explored the section in between Gardiner and West Yellowstone mostly during my June visit in 2023, when I set up camp for a couple of nights in the Indian Creek Campground. Right here, I had some of my most terrifying but also exciting bear encounters in all of Yellowstone when I was hiking the Bighorn Pass Trail, which starts at Indian Creek and traverses the Gallatin Range. The trail led me through beautiful open meadows and into some dense forests. After less than a mile on the trail, I suddenly heard some noise nearby. I stopped and scanned the area around me. That's when I noticed a black bear, roughly 15 meters from me in between the trees, motionless, just staring at me. I immediately got my bear spray out and slowly backed away while the bear just stood there and watched my every move. I just kept backing away, calmly letting the bear know that I am neither a threat nor a prey. After a while, I lost sight of her and started my way back down the trail. An intense moment that felt like it was going on forever, but at the same time was over in an instant. I could hardly contain my excitement once I was back at the campground. I let the camp hosts know about the encounter and went back to my car to go for a drive instead. Little did I know that this was not the last time that I would see her. Most of the geothermal features in the area between Gardner and West Yellowstone are concentrated around the Norris and Gibbon geyser basins, located about halfway between the two. That was where I was headed, with my first stop 6 miles south of Indian Creek at Roaring Mountain, a bright white slope named for its countless steaming and hissing fumaroles. Another 6 miles further down the road lies Norris Geyser Basin, which is one of the park's largest and most popular attractions. While finding a parking spot can be tricky at times, this is well worth a visit. Here I explored countless geysers, steaming hot springs, colorful pools, and bubbling mud pots via a number of loop trails that led me through an otherworldly landscape. Among all of them, Steamboat Geyser stood out as one of the loudest and one of the world's tallest geysers. However, I wasn't fortunate enough to catch one of its eruptions, which occur every couple of decades or so. After that, I left the crowds behind once again and made my way back to Indian Creek. I paused along the way to enjoy the beautiful scenery when I noticed something moving in the far distance. With my zoom lens, I was able to make out a grizzly that wandered down the hills of the Gallatin Range. I couldn't believe it. 2 bear encounters in one day. Filled to the brim with lasting memories, I returned to the campground, and that's where we met again. Just before the campground and right next to the road, the same black bear from earlier that day appeared, trailed by her little cub. This time I was able to take my time and enjoy the 2 of them from inside my car while capturing this incredible moment with my camera, one of the most memorable encounters of my entire trip. After another day of exploring the forests, lakes, and trails in between the Norris Geyser Basin and Canyon Village, I left Indian Creek behind and made my way further down south, where I passed by a few more of the park's countless geysers at Artists' Paint Pots and Gibbon Geyser Basin, before concluding my June 2023 visit to Yellowstone National Park. While there are plenty of lodging opportunities at Mammoth Hot Springs, which is the park's largest village and offers a visitor center, a general store, restaurants, gas station, and post office, Indian Creek Campground is, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful campgrounds the National Park Service has to offer. Yellowstone's southwestern corner, in between West Yellowstone and the south entrance, features most of the park's geothermal features. Among them are some of the park's most popular sites and all-time favorites, including Grand Prismatic Spring and the Old Faithful Geyser. There are plenty of opportunities to go for a hike and explore some of the park's most colorful and impressive springs, as well as a dense concentration of geysers. I explored this part of Yellowstone National Park during my first visit in the fall of 2022, when I set up camp in West Yellowstone and the Madison campground for a couple of nights. About 14 miles from West Yellowstone, just south of Madison campground, lies Firehole Canyon Road, which closely follows the roaring and raging sections of the Firehole River with all its rapids and waterfalls. A short drive from the southern end of Firehole Canyon Road, Lower Geyser Basin awaits, one of the park's largest geyser basins, which can be made out from afar with all its towering steam clouds. Here, I walked over a short and easy loop trail that led me right to the geysers and springs clustered around this area, and which offered sweeping views of the surrounding open plains. A few minutes further down the road is Midway Geyser Basin, which is where the Grand Prismatic Spring can be found. Since parking here can be quite challenging, I decided to continue down south for another 2 miles and park my car at the Fairy Falls parking lot. From there, it is a short walk to the Grand Prismatic Spring Overlook, a spectacular spot to take it all in from a slightly elevated vantage point and to experience one of the park's most colorful and beautiful main attractions. 5 miles from Midway Geyser Basin lies the very heart of Yellowstone's amazing geothermal attractions, the Upper Geyser Basin and its surrounding areas. An area that features the highest concentration of countless hot springs, fumaroles, mud pots, colorful pools, and geysers in the entire park, which can be explored via an extensive network of trails and boardwalks. And this is where Yellowstone's all-time favorite can be found, the Old Faithful Geyser. Even though this place was packed with large crowds, I did manage to find a quiet vantage point where I was able to sit down and watch one of the park's largest geysers erupting, an absolute must-see event. Right here, I was also able to stock up and fill up, since the Old Faithful area offers a large number of services and amenities, including a general store, gas station, restaurants and cafeterias, and a visitor center. Besides that, it was also worth it to check out the historic Old Faithful Inn, a place listed as a National Historic Landmark. Leaving the Old Faithful area behind, I made my way further down south towards the shores of Yellowstone Lake and Grant Village. Located right at the shore of Lake Yellowstone, West Thumb Geyser Basin offers a network of easily accessible boardwalks that lead around a variety of geysers and pools, combined with sweeping views across the lake and of the distant mountains to the east. There is plenty of lodging in the area, with West Yellowstone nearby and the Old Faithful Village featuring some of the largest hotels within the park's boundaries. However, I felt like camping would be the best way to make the most out of my first Yellowstone visit, which is why I decided to stay at Madison Campground, one of the park's largest campgrounds beautifully located along the banks of Madison River. Here I could sit back and watch the bison roam through the picturesque river valley in front of me, a perfect end to a long day. While the stretch in between the Grant Village and the Fishing Bridge Visitor Center does not have the large concentration and variety of attractions which can be found in the northern and western park segments, the area around Yellowstone Lake offers the park's largest concentration of lodging opportunities as well as many other services and amenities. Most of the highlights of this area are situated north of Fishing Bridge, with beautiful landscapes and several wildlife hotspots. I explored the eastern portion of the park during my first visit in the fall of 2022, in the spring of 2023, and then again in the summer of 2024. 3 entirely different experiences that highlighted how each season at Yellowstone has its very own character. During my visit in the late spring of 2023, I entered Yellowstone National Park via the eastern entrance coming from Cody and set up camp at Bridge Bay Campground near the shoreline of Yellowstone Lake. While it was early June, it was still snowing, and much of the park had just awakened from a very harsh winter. From Bridge Bay Campground, the drive up north beyond Fishing Bridge leads through an area with an exciting mix of natural features and a variety of changing landscapes, ranging from open plains and endless forests to rolling hills and towering mountains. The first miles closely follow the course of the Yellowstone River, with several opportunities to hike down to the riverbank, like for example at Lahardie Rapids. A little further up north lies a dense cluster of one of Yellowstone's most popular geothermal features, the Mud Volcano and the Sulphur Cauldron, which offers an easy 1-mile loop trail to explore the rocky hillside and consists of a variety of mud pods, hot springs, and pools. Further up north lies one of the park's exciting wildlife hotspots, situated in the picturesque landscapes of Hayden Valley. Here I got to see herds of bison and elk grazing in the grasslands of this vast open plain. I took some time to stop along the road and enjoy the sweeping views of the vast landscape around me all the way to the mountains up north. Around 7 miles down the road, just before Canyon Village, I suddenly noticed a large group of cars parked along the side of the road. Curious about what was going on there, I also stopped and got out. And that's when I had my first ever bear encounter. A black bear some 30 meters away, seemingly unimpressed by the large crowd. I was exhilarated. Little did I know that the following days of my June trip would be filled with several other bear sightings. During my fall visit of 2022, I explored the area around Canyon Village, and with it one of the most popular and awe-inspiring single attractions of Yellowstone National Park, the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone. This is a place full of dramatic colors, hence the name Yellowstone. Steep cliffs and towering waterfalls, The area around the upper and lower falls is easily accessible by car with paved roads and parking lots all along the north and south rims of the canyon. From the parking lots, it is mostly just a short walk up to the brink of the canyon and to various viewpoints of the falls and the rest of the canyon downstream. The most dramatic and picturesque of all of them is Artist Point, at the far end of the south rim, sitting on an exposed edge in the middle of the canyon with sweeping views of the falls and the canyon far below. After filling up and stocking up at Canyon Village, one of the park's major hubs which offered all kinds of services, I continued my drive further up north towards Tower Junction. Here the scenery changes into a stunningly beautiful alpine landscape as the Grand Loop Road winds its way up to its highest point at the Dunraven Pass near Mount Washburn. Just before heading up the southern slope of Mount Washburn, the Cascade Lake Trail offers a short but incredibly scenic hike through a beautiful mix of open meadows and dense forests. The final 20-kilometer drive to the Tower Junction area leads past Mount Washburn Trailhead, with its sweeping and far-reaching views of the surrounding Yellowstone wilderness, one of the best viewpoints in the entire park, and back down to the dramatically rugged and colorful landscapes around the Yellowstone River. And with that, we have completed our 215-kilometer journey along the Grand Loop Road of Yellowstone National Park, through a breathtaking variety of landscapes, past countless geysers and hot springs, and through exciting wildlife hotspots. Now that I have detailed out all the different outdoor activities and attractions of Yellowstone National Park, I want to highlight the distinct characteristics of each of the 4 seasons in the area. Depending on the kind of Yellowstone experience you are after, it is important to consider the differences that come with each season throughout the year, each with their own unique benefits. Come in spring, and you will have the best chances to see most of the park's wildlife in action as they come out to look for food. Especially after a tough and long winter season, chances will be significantly higher for you. By far, most of my bear encounters and sights happened on one of my visits in the early days of June, when I got to see black and grizzly bears on more than a dozen instances. However, be warned that due to the high altitude and location of Yellowstone National Park, cold winter weather may last well into June, with snow falling at Yellowstone Lake as late as mid-June. So be prepared to wake up in freezing conditions if you decide to go camping during spring season. Also, since this is still a shoulder season, do not expect all services of the park to be available, with some smaller campgrounds, information stations, and shops remaining closed until mid-June. Summer brings with it the peak season of the park, which means that all services will be available and all campsites are open for business. Also, you can be sure that the weather will certainly be warmer and the summer days will be longer than during the shoulder seasons, offering perfect conditions for all types of outdoor activities such as camping and hiking. On the flip side, this also means that it will be the busiest season of the year, so expect large crowds, lots of traffic, full campsites, and expensive hotel rooms. In fact, if you are planning to visit the park anytime between late June and early September, be sure to make your reservations as early and far ahead as possible, because spots will fill up very quickly. This applies especially to those large campgrounds, popular lodges, and the campsites around the park's hotspots. Fall season will most likely be warmer and more comfortable than spring, with some of the warmer summer days still lingering in the area until late September. However, as the days will be getting shorter, those Yellowstone nights can become fairly cold. So to all those late September campers out there, don't be surprised if you wake up with frost all around you one day. While the summer crowds will most likely be gone, it can still get busy at times, especially around the park's main attractions throughout September. That being said, fall season offers just the same exceptional chances for viewing wildlife, as they will once again be more active during this time of the year. While it will be rutting season for the elk and bison population of the park, the bears will prepare for hibernation and will therefore be very busy looking for food. Yellowstone's long winter season means that most of the park's services will be closed, and all access roads, except for the road between the north and northeast entrances, will be closed to individual traffic. The north entrance will then remain the only one being connected to the outside world. If you decide to visit Yellowstone during the winter season as an individual traveler, you will only have the option to explore the area around Lamar Valley. And this means high season for some undisturbed wildlife viewing during the quieter months. Even though bears will be hibernating, you will get plenty of chances to see the park's bison, elk, and if you are lucky, even the elusive gray wolves, as they will be most active around Lamar Valley at this time of the year. And if you head up into the alpine parts of the park beyond Lamar Valley, you will also get the chance to see some moose. So, all in all, a pretty amazing time to visit this part of Yellowstone National Park if you can brave the freezing temperatures and snow. All in all, it is hard to say how much time you'll need for this park. It all depends on how much you would like to do and see. All I can say from my personal experience is this. I have visited several times, spent several weeks all together in this park by now, and still haven't seen it all.